Choosing the entrepreneurship path is choosing to be responsible for your wealth. But many a time, struggles and challenges kind of want to make you rethink going back to the 9 to 5. So how do you overcome that very precarious moment? And so much more is what we're sharing in today's podcast.
Welcome to the Marketing Keys PR podcast. Open your understanding our social media, online marketing, the mobile web and new PR works for business, reaching you from Lagos, the commercial capital city of Africa. And now your host, Ilo Ifoma.
Hello, welcome to the Marketing Keys PR online radio show. I'm Ilo Ifoma. How are you doing today? I'm your online marketing cracknut, and this is the podcast where I help entrepreneurs leverage online marketing and new PR tips and tactics to grow their business and make a profit. If you've been following any of our recent shows, you would have been aware that I've gone off the cuff a little bit to spotlight entrepreneurs who are in the trenches of creating value. And today's show, I'm joined by serial entrepreneur Yetunde Taiwo. This much I can say, Yetunde is a Chicago-born, Nigerian-raised serial entrepreneur. So Yetunde, are you with me?
Hello, I'm good. How are you? That was a funny introduction, but thank you. I appreciate it. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you. Thank you for joining me on today's podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. So Yetunde, I would like you to give a little background about yourself and tell me how you started this entrepreneurial path.
Okay. I was born in Chicago, raised in Nigeria. My parents are from Nigeria, but they actually went to school in Chicago. So there was a lot of entrepreneurship mindsets from my grandparents, and then just being exposed to the West and just the way they do business. So coming back to America when I was about 16, went to college, and I started off actually trying to be an attorney. And eventually I just realized I wanted to be a PR boss, to say the least. Like I just knew that I wanted to be a PR entrepreneur. And so being influenced by a family of entrepreneurs, literally like grandparents, great-grandparents, just about everybody in the family have their own business. So it was kind of inevitable that I found this path. And so the goal was before I turned 30 to have my own company. But I found I have many interests. I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur. So I never just do one thing. And I just also learned that from my family. There was never one thing to just grow wealth. You had multiple businesses. So I kind of fell in place with creating right now about 3 companies. One is a branding company where I basically help entrepreneurs brand themselves visually, as in tapping into who they are. And present them in such a way that it's their best self they're presenting in terms of the color, their logo, their whole image is who they are, not who they imagine they want to be. And then the second company I started, which we actually just celebrated 7 years, is IC Public Relations, where we actually do the publicity of the people we've branded. And now my third passion, which kind of just happened, is Afropolitan chef, where I basically get to teach people how to cook spicy, delicious, and flavorful African food in very short periods of time. So being a serial entrepreneur just kind of, I think I didn't have a choice because my family kind of went in that direction, so it was inevitable for me.
Okay, cool. But some people would want to think about how could you manage all of this, because I can relate with you as an entrepreneur. You have a lot of ideas, jamming within your mind, and you're trying to roll them out. How were you able to play it all out, all this interest, all this so many interests you have? How were you able to streamline it and bring out these 3 businesses that are thriving for you?
The thing that pops to mind as you ask me that question now is thinking about my mom. Like every time I had some new interest in graphic design or drawing or painting, she was the first to encourage me. Like, so whatever I was interested in, there was never, I can't remember any time when my mother said no. Like it was just play with it and, see how you feel. So I think just having that experience of no restriction, of having a parent support you in whatever in the world you have desires for at that time. And this is when I was in college, so I had many interests, and she just always said, pursue it and learn something from it. And if it doesn't work out, at least you have some experience. So it kind of ended up being me having this many places and things to play with for the last, I would say 15, 20 years, and finally figuring out what I'm really good at. And it was honestly just identifying what are your strengths, and you amplify that. Because everybody has one or more things that they're interested in. And I think people fall into the trap of thinking they have to do that one thing. So for me, it was finding out what it is that I really love doing, that I'm good at, and that I can enjoy doing for a long time without getting bored. And those are the things that sort of found their way to the top. So imagine in the past 15 years, I've actually started over, I think, 8 companies, different ones started and failed. And these 3 sort of kind of hung in there because there are things that I've done that I can dream about it. I don't get tired of it. So it was honestly being around people and someone who supported me to explore all the things I love, and just understanding, and she having that understanding that eventually something that I appreciate the most will come to the surface. So that kind of just happened. And when you learn to manage your time, it's very easy to run multiple companies. There's people that have 27 companies. You imagine, how do they do that? And you only have one. So having that support system really helps to just explore and play and make mistakes and fail and realize, okay, I'm not good at that, and do something else.
Yeah, I actually love what you saliently mentioned within that even if you begin to try all of this interest, don't look at it as you could be glued to one, but look at it as even if you fail, it's actually a learning opportunity, a learning experience that you can learn from and move on. And don't just, that's awesome. That's awesome. So now, with your experience as an entrepreneur, do you think the entrepreneurial industry, as it were, that's people who launch entrepreneurial projects and all of that, do you think that we've really, within our personal selves, we really do it right to actually succeed on that entrepreneurial path?
I think for everybody is a learning curve. Everybody, no matter how, even if you're a lean startup where you're starting with $500 to the companies that get, huge monies from venture capitalists, I think it's, you never know, because this is always a new field, and it's always like someone's baby. Whenever you start an entrepreneurship business, that is your baby. So it's very personal. And so, in terms of, are we getting it right? Trying is getting it right. At least even venturing, because some people don't have the courage to, not because they don't want to, but because they feel like certain things are not in place for them to do it. And they end up living a life where they're miserable because they're not doing what they want to do. So I think at the end of the day, if you're even deciding to be an entrepreneur, if that thought pops to your head, the possibility of being responsible for your wealth, the possibility of creating the life that you want, is just, it's an opportunity that, it's a responsibility, and it's also an opportunity to exceed your own expectation and that of others. So I think if you even think about being an entrepreneur, kudos to you, because you're about to embark on a really intensive and impressive self-growth journey, for sure. Because I think there's certain mindset you have to have when you switch to an entrepreneur mode, that there's an adjusting period when you leave a 9-to-5 job, where you have to give yourself that time to adjust from not having someone to go to as your boss, or not having employees to, come in cahoots with, to have conversations with. So I think what happens is when people decide to be entrepreneurs, there's that time period. I think it's usually 6 months where you are either going to make it, or you're going to go back to a 9-to-5 because you can't handle being responsible for your life. The idea of having a check every week or every 2 weeks is comfortable for some people, and that's fine if that's what you want and where you want to be. But when you want to tap into what your potential is to change your life and the life of those you love, you have to step into it and understand that you will have challenges where you're feeling like, it'd be nice to just have a paycheck, because it's not always rosy. There's sometimes when it's there is no money coming in, you don't know where you're going to eat, you don't know where you're going to pay your mortgage or your rent. But the moment you get into a place where you find your groove, you find what you're good at, and you sit in it, I guarantee you the money will find you. And then it just becomes you building that customer relationship with whatever you're selling and making the most of it.
Okay, cool. Now, speaking about being there, an entrepreneur standing in there until it begins to make a profit, what core values can you share that will help the entrepreneur when everything isn't rosy and it feels like switching back to a 9 to 5? What mindset do you think an entrepreneur should have at that moment to keep the doors open?
Okay. The first thing is you have to discipline yourself. And I mean, like, you have to act like you're going to work in the morning. I wake up dressed up. Like, I wake up in the morning and roll out of my bed, and I work from home, just because I have international clients. So I don't need an office space, So for me, it's coming into my office, my second room here, and acting like I'm going to work. I literally dress up and come to my office.
Yeah, sure.
I have my breakfast. Don't turn on the TV, because I tell you, you never just watch 1 hour. It just never happens. Like, you sit down like, okay, I'll have lunch and watch TV while I'm having lunch. And 4 hours later, you're still in the same position. So discipline is very important. And then the second thing is, I highly recommend a to-do list. Whatever it is you need to do, you need to go to the grocery store, you need to go fix your car, write it all down, and as you get it done, you check everything out. And that's sort of a sense of accomplishment that honestly every entrepreneur that you can imagine does a to-do list. I cannot imagine anyone that doesn't. Every successful entrepreneur has a to-do list that they check through, because it helps you with efficiency and effectiveness. The third thing is time management. Beyonce, Warren Buffett, and Oprah have the same 24 hours in a day. Absolutely. And they have multiple businesses. So you have no excuse for wasting 24 hours. Like, no matter how wealthy you are in this world, that's the one thing I appreciate and value about time, is that you cannot negotiate with time. And no matter how wealthy you are, you cannot buy time. So once you realize the power of your time, you spend less time chatting on the phone on useless conversations that are not about improving either your business or your personal growth. Cut down on social media time wasting.
All right, so now let's transition over and begin to talk about your book, your project, the Afropolitan Chef project. I know you're coming out with a book, and it's Eat With Your Heart, How to Cook Like an Afropolitan Chef. Can you give a brief of why this project?
Well, it's funny because this project came about from living the entrepreneurial life and trying to save money, literally. So I when I started working for myself full time in 2009, I basically cut down my eating out habits and started to cook more in order to save money and actually eat the way I wanted to eat. So I ended up realizing I was saving close to $1,500 a year from eating in. I was like, So it just kind of happened where, ICPR was sort of the catalyst for Afropolitan Chef, because I just wanted to save money as an entrepreneur. So I started to get into cooking more. Before you know it, I started to post pictures of my food on Facebook, and, people would tell me to mail it to them, or they liked the way I was presenting African food. And then the editor of New African Woman magazine sent me a message asking if I would write a food column for the magazine. And I was like, absolutely. And she said she was going to pay me. I'm like, are you kidding me? Of course. I was willing to do it for free.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that something that basically started out of necessity for one business birthed a new business. And so I've been literally working in it for about 4 years to launch this book. So I really believe in the power of food to bring people together. And, with the cooking that I do, I've been able to bring people from different cultures, backgrounds, religious backgrounds, economic backgrounds, neighborhoods together to really enjoy loving each other and enjoy African food and expressing love through food. So this book really is about bringing people together. And I want to teach people how to cook African fusion meals quickly, efficiently in terms of saving money, and just in a way where you enjoy the process of eating and being hungry and cooking what you want to eat. So this is truly a heartfelt project, because I have been cooking since I was 6 years old.
That's beautiful. But I would like to define this project. Who's your key audience? Is it Africans in Africa? Because something I have kind of observed within the Nigerian environment where I live and work is we are set into this food ideology where we kind of cook not more than 5 or 6 dishes depending on
Right.
depending on where you're from.
That's so true, right? Right. And I'm guilty of that too. I was the same way. And it's funny, it was one of my best friends who's a Cajun girl, Jennifer Brady, that was like, Yetunde, I love your Nigerian food, but oh my God, can you cook other stuff? And I was like, well, I only know how to cook this stuff. So with her, I started to explore other foods. And that's where the whole idea of African fusion came for me, because I'm like, well, the new cosmopolitan African woman is influenced by the world, but rooted in Africa. So how can I present African food in such a way where in 30 days or 60 days, you have different meals to eat that are inspired truly by African recipes and dishes, but influenced by the world. And that's where this idea came about. So you're right. It is for our people in terms of just understanding there's so many ways we can present and cook our food, that you don't have to repeat a meal in 60 days, literally, with the recipes I'm coming up with. Like, if you choose to do that, that's a choice. But in 60 days, you have different meals where before you get back to number one, you really want it to get to it. So it's definitely for our people to see the different ways we can eat our food and different new things we can introduce to our recipes. And it's also for people who do love African fusion meals, women who are married to African men, or people who just have a passion for spicy, flavorful, colorful African food, and you want a quick way to learn how to do this in your own home, 5-star restaurant style. So I'm definitely excited to share this book with women who love to cook already and want new options, for African food, and women who have no clue about African food. And this is a great introduction. And the best part, I think, about the book that I'm really excited about, that I haven't really seen anywhere per se, and presented in this way, is one, all the recipes in the book have pictures and sort of how-tos for some of them. But all of them have calorie counts. All of them. So how much protein, how much carbs, how much salt intake, carbohydrates, all of that. So you're able to actually develop a diet plan, an Afropolitan chef diet plan based on the book. And I'm really excited about that. And it helped me realize that we actually eat pretty healthy. Like, there's certain foods that I thought was just really heavy, 2,000, 4,000 calories. I like 300 calories. And I'm like, wow, we do pretty well. So I'm very excited about that. Mrs. Kuti is the nutritionist out of Texas that we got to do that. And so even people who are diabetic can basically come up with their food plan off of the book. So that's just the cat's meow for me. And I think, in terms of getting into the American market, America is very concerned about calorie counts. This is a great way to introduce them to African food in such a way that they can enjoy it, eat healthy, and be exposed to new dishes. It's really awesome.
Wow, that just got me bopping my head in agreement. Like, when we cook here, it's when you prepare to cook, prepare to spend hours in the kitchen.
No, I don't have that time. Like that is the honest to God truth. With 3 businesses and growing, I just don't have the time. So for me, it's like, if I can manage 3 businesses and cook often, I want to teach you how to do that in such a way that it saves you time and money. So I've learned, quick ways to cook, quick dishes to make with what we like to eat, but in such a way that it's, 25, 30 minutes, you're done, literally. And you have a meal for 2 or 3 people. And if it's a family, obviously the time it changes slightly. But let me give you an example. Moi moi, which is like a bean type dish.
Yeah.
It takes on average, realistically, about 2.5 hours to prepare.
Yeah.
I don't have 2.5 hours. Like, I know how much work I can get done in 2.5 hours. I figured out a way to cut it down to 50 minutes. And it's so simple, but it's a trick that I learned from one of my aunts. And I was like, oh my God, why didn't anybody tell me this when I was growing up? So now I can wake up on Saturday morning and be like, I want to make moi moi, and less than an hour, I'm done. And then there's certain dishes that you use to prepare the meal. So for instance, with my moi moi, I actually use a porcelain dish. So like the kind of dishes you use for creme brulee. It conducts heat differently. And because it conducts heat differently, the moi moi is more moist and it cooks faster than if you put it in a foil or in the oven. The oven dries it up. Moi moi is supposed to be steam cooked. So there's certain ways I teach how to cook that is quick. And it just keeps all your nutrients together as opposed to burning it out. So those are things I'm really excited to share with with fellow foodies.
It's kind of funny. You got me all fired up, and I'm actually looking forward to the book. So let's talk about the IndieGoGo project you have up for this book right now. Why did you choose the IndieGoGo way?
Well, I think, I was trying to figure out, because I was supposed to launch this book last year, and, as an entrepreneur, every dollar counts. And so thinking about raising $7,500, that's a lot of money that when going into a business it can be very productive. So I was, hanging out with my boyfriend, and he was asking me, well, why don't you do a fundraiser, IndieGoGo campaign or Kickstarter? And I was like, no, I think I had a prideful moment where I was like, my ego got in the way. I'm like, no, I don't want it to look like I'm asking people for money. He's like, no, if Spike Lee can raise $6 million to do a movie on Kickstarter, you have no excuse for raising $7,500. And he's like, in exchange, you're actually giving people something, the cookbook or an apron. I was like, okay, put my pride aside. What am I offering that is of value? I'm offering an opportunity for people to learn to enjoy getting together and spending time together, and providing value in terms of the power of food to connect us, wherever you are. And so I got on IndieGoGo because IndieGoGo actually allows you to keep whatever funds you raise, based on whatever period you pick, to your project. So even if I don't make my $7,500, if I make $4,000, I'm allowed to keep that towards the project, obviously, and obviously fulfill my obligation to people that signed up and supported. Now, here's the good thing that just happened yesterday, Ify, that I'm really excited about. I had a private donor come in and promise up to $2,000 for this project,
awesome.
Which I was totally stoked about.
Awesome.
But it's a match project. So basically, if I can raise $2,000 in the next 2 weeks,
okay,
they'll give me $2,000. So I'm basically doubling, my possibility. So I'm actually going to kick off this basically a match campaign, So if I raise up to $2,000 and I get, enough friends and family and people who really love this project and idea to support me in raising up to $2,000 in the next 2 weeks, I get $2,000. And that would automatically put us at $4,000. So I'm really looking forward to the support of just really getting, people turned on to African food and engaged and just understanding there's so many ways we can eat and enjoy our food, that is past the 5 dishes you know how to cook. I've just learned to do those things, and I've learned to do it in a way that saves time. Let me show you and share this experience with you so you can have more loving and enjoyable moments with friends and family.
All right. Now, I know that the project on IndieGoGo is just a couple of days to go. So what else is it that you would want the audience of this podcast to know about that we haven't touched on yet?
Okay. I think the biggest thing with all of this that I'm learning is as an entrepreneur, you can never do this alone. It is important to get the right support around you, and to get the right people that believe in your vision, because then they can keep you on track whenever you have those moments when you feel down or you're just exhausted. It's very important to gather around you, like consciously. You have to be aware of the people you choose to have around you. They have to be people that are about you and for you and about your dreams and aim to push you better. So in tying to that of this whole project, as in the people I've had to support the Afropolitan chef and me as an entrepreneur with ICPR, I know all of this is because of the connections that, we've built over the years, and just the support of an entrepreneur really trying to do something different for our people, because I realize this really is not about me. I think it's an opportunity to put Africa on the map through food. And what better way to do it than with a book that teaches other people how to cook our food quickly, and to understand the health benefits as well. So I really love and believe in the power of food to bring us together, and I really hope this project does that for you listeners and you, Ify, and my friends and family, to bring us together to make this happen for our continent.
When I read through your IndieGoGo page, I realized that some of the proceeds from this book would be going towards some organizations that cater for hungry children, if I'm correct.
Yes. So one of the organizations I've supported for years is the World Food Program.
Okay.
And the second one that I actually just recently got tuned into was the No Kids Hungry organization. And for me, I think that's just growing up with my mother. She always, like, we had times when we would go feed the hungry, and she always cooked for others and always was about food, teaching and feeding and bringing people together. So for me, I connect with that, and the idea that you get to help and change people's life through food is so powerful for me that I've supported these organizations. And my commitment to God when this idea came up to me when I woke up that morning was, for the rest of my life, 10% of the proceeds from this book for the rest of my life is going to go to the World Food Program and the No Kids Hungry. So whenever you donate to this cause and to support this book, and throughout, when the book comes out and even through this campaign, when you make a purchase and when you make a donation, you actually give 10% of what you give to the World Food Program and No Kid Hungry, because we'll make a donation on your behalf, 10% of whatever you give. Thank you for bringing that up. I really appreciate it, because I just believe in the power of food to change lives. And so by default, Afropolitan Chef is a part of changing that story of how the power of food changes lives. And so you support that cause whenever you donate or buy the book from here on out. So thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. The cover photo of this book, it's awesome. It's actually flavorful, you know. So
that's a good one. I'm rubbing off on you. Flavorful. I like it. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. When exactly is this book coming out in printed forms? Later this summer, right?
No, this book is actually going to launch on Thanksgiving. You know, Thanksgiving in America is usually the time when people get together or cook. People are more giving. Actually, as an entrepreneur, I found that people are more giving during November, December, just because after a long year, you're just like, oh, thank God I made it through the year, and you give more. So for me, this is a way to give to the food circle of how you can share life together. And Thanksgiving here is usually to like the third week in November. So the book is going to come out 2 weeks before that. So you have enough time to order and give it as a gift for either Thanksgiving or the Christmas holiday. So I'm really looking forward to this being like a keepsake book. And it's a very good quality print. So it's like a 3-ring binder, like nice little 8x5 3-ring binder, something you can have in your kitchen. Like you can actually have an African-inspired cookbook that you can share with friends proudly, and that has a calorie count, and the graphics are very, very strong imagery that just, you literally want to eat it through the screen. Sometimes I share some of the pictures and I have people telling me, don't post it anymore. I can't take it. I'm hungry. So it's really getting people excited about food and just excited about getting in the kitchen and just getting back to basics, because what people need to remember is, you know, kitchen is a place where we get to bring people together, you know, and food brings people together. And so this provides an opportunity to get back into that habit of bringing people together. And when you get people together, powerful things happen. And it is my hope and goal that with this book, you know, a lot of love will be shared, a lot of experiences will be learned, and people just get to love each other differently, but inspired by African food. So I'm really excited about it.
You got all my taste buds watering already.
That's awesome. That's good.
So I want to wish you the very best in this project here today, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Ify, for having me. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Please support the project. If you will share the link with the campaign link in it, please share it with your friends. Nothing's too small, and I would appreciate and value it. And I'm just looking forward to sharing this experience with you. Sure. Thank you so much. Please follow me on all my social medias. Every social media, it's Afropolitan Chef. And that's basically cosmopolitan, but Afropolitan. So Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all of that. It's all Afropolitan Chef.
All the links, they will be in the show notes and the show description, so you can easily find it and join Yetunde on this project. Thanks again, Yetunde. It's so glad to have you.
Thank you so much.
Wow, an awesome conversation I've had there with Yetunde Taiwo. It's so beautiful just talking with her, and so I think it's time now, after this show, go ahead and support this cause, support Yetunde Taiwo's project on IndieGoGo, and remember that when you give, a percentage of what you give will be given to organizations that help feed the hungry. So go make a change, support Yetunde Taiwo's project, and let's make this happen. Thank you for listening to Marketing Keys PER podcast. I'm Iloifoma, your marketing cracknut, always helping you with your online marketing and PR strategies to help you move your business from where it is right now to where it ought to be. Remember that your business rock, and I am your biggest cheerleader. Go make something happen. Take care.